Shalom, Salam Alaikum, Talofa Lava, Namaste, Pura, greetings to all of you. Today we remember the Holocaust. We remember all those who suffered, all those who perished. We remember millions of Jews. We remember Romanis, Gypsies. We remember disabled people. We remember Freemasons. We remember Jehovah's Witnesses. We remember gay men and women. We remember socialists. We remember communists. We remember them all. And so it's a day of existential sadness, but it's also a day of liberation. We celebrate today the liberation of the Auschwitz death camp. We celebrate today the extraordinary Holocaust survivors, some of whom came to Aotearoa and who enriched our country. But we not only celebrate the Holocaust survivors, we celebrate all the disabled people, all the refugees, all who came to New Zealand and made our country a better place. And we don't just celebrate those who came in the shadow of the Second World War, but we also celebrate those who came yesterday, those who came the day before, because they, you, have all made our country better and stronger. And I also want to celebrate some other positives as well. Despite this terrible sadness, I want to celebrate that out of the Second World War, out of the Holocaust, came the most extraordinary document of the 20th century. That document is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights was a response to the authoritarianism. It was a response to oppression. It was a response to the Holocaust. But it was also crucially, it was a response to the causes of authoritarianism. Causes like poverty and widening inequalities and a sense of unfairness. So the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is extremely relevant to today's world of authoritarianism, today's world of poverty and widening inequalities. And the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is built on values that we all hold dear. Values like dignity and decency and freedom and equality and fairness and belonging and community. And these values and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights belong to everyone. And these rights and these values should be shaping all our laws and all our policies and all our initiatives. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948, it emerged from the ashes of the Second World War and the pain of the Holocaust. And the Human Rights Commission, we do what we can, and today we celebrate the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We do all we can to secure those human rights for everyone, North and South, urban and rural, rich and poor, whatever your colour, whatever your creed, whatever your gender, whatever your sexuality, whatever your background, the human rights are for everyone. And the Universal Declaration of Human Rights requires all of us to build harmonious relationships, to take seriously our responsibilities to each other and to our communities. It requires us to secure the rights to the basics of a decent life for everyone. You, of all people, know what a terrible day the 15th of March 2019 was. But out of it has come a determination to do better. And the Royal Commission report on the Christchurch massacre, the report that was published just a few weeks ago, this important Royal Commission report points the way forward. It points the way forward for a more inclusive society. A society grounded on te tiriti, a society respectful of human rights for all. And whatever we do, we must be grounded in te tiriti o Waitangi. Te tiriti and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights have much in common. They resonate together, they're complementary, they reinforce each other. So, in closing, today we remember the Holocaust. But we also celebrate. We celebrate the liberation of Auschwitz. We celebrate the Holocaust survivors. We celebrate and thank from the bottom of our hearts displaced people, refugees, everyone who came to and enriched Aotearoa. We celebrate the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We celebrate Te Tiriti o Waitangi, and together we will chart a positive human rights way forward for everyone. Māori ki te rangi, ora ki te whenua, Māori ora, kia tātou katoa, shalom, salam alaikum. Thank you.
Be still. Now it's all quiet. Even the strangle is about to release. It isn't hell, and surely isn't heaven. This is what we have, and there's nothing else. Be still as if you don't have any flaws, as if the air alone is keeping you safe, as if all wrongs become beauty, as if a rose is blooming from the dust. Be still as if you have never been, as if you weren't a speck in the trim view, as if you saw a hand in the fist of rage, as if the ray of light has finally found you. Be still as if you don't have any flaws, as if the air alone is keeping you safe, as if all wrongs become beauty, as if a rose is blooming from the dust. Be still for now. How much you can ignore being hurt and have no fear, as if the hurt itself is giving you the strength to be at peace at the eye of the storm. Be still as if you don't have any flaws, as if the air alone is keeping you safe, as if all wrongs become beauty, as if a rose is blooming from the dust.
I'd like to join in acknowledging our honoured guests and everybody here today, in particular the Jewish community of Canterbury and our Holocaust survivors. Thank you all from my heart for being here today. As you're aware, I'm the MP for Ilam, but what you may not know about me is that I was born and grew up in Jersey, in the Channel Islands, where my father spent his childhood under German occupation during the Second World War. His childhood was dominated by fear that his father, my grandfather's stash of guns for the resistance, and his crystal radio set, hidden under the printing press at his workplace, would be discovered. My grandfather was a medic on the front line during the First World War, and so had very little tolerance for fascism. His acts of courage and rebellion in wartime put him and his family at risk of deportation or death. On this day since 2015, in addition to honouring the hundreds of European Jews who were taken to the labour camp in Alderney, another of the Channel Islands, my homeland of Jersey remembers the 22 non-Jewish resistance fighters who were deported from the island and murdered during the occupation. If we fail to learn and remember the lessons of history, we know we are at risk of repeating them. My travels took me to Israel for the first time in the early 1990s, and the impact of the Holocaust were brought home to me when I visited Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Memorial Center in Jerusalem. As long as I live, I will never forget that visit, but in particular the Children's Memorial, which at the time was a simple glass walkway with a single flickering candle reflected by mirrors into infinity surrounding me. And as I walked, the names of each of the 1 million murdered children was read aloud. It took months just to read each name aloud, just once. Months. It is almost beyond our comprehension, and yet we need to try to work to understand and to remember. In Christchurch, tragically, we don't need to look to history to see the effects of letting the noxious views of the far right and hate gain traction. And whilst the Jewish community was not the target of the shooter's murderous rampage in March 2019, we need to be clear that the Jewish community is also vulnerable. When we saw a milk worker drawing swastikas on his overalls 2 days following the attack, this was made clear. And it's not, as he argued, a joke. Nor is it free speech, it is hate, and it is not okay. So when I say never again, it is with some small understanding, albeit from the outside, what we are fighting against, of what the consequences are of forgetting, of letting hatred take hold. Never again is not a quiet phrase to be uttered in placation, but an active statement of intent to be shouted in the face of hate, and that must have action behind it. We must stand up every single time and say no, not here, not anywhere, not ever, never, never again. And I say to you once more, Shalom.
Tinakoto Katua. Shalom Aleichem. Assalamu alaikum. I'd like to acknowledge the Mayor of Christchurch and ministers and Member of Parliaments, councillors, all family members and friends and the police and everyone here today. We are here to say that we all stand against hate, and we are not gonna let hate divide us, as I said in Ugly Park, and will continue the journey of peace to teach peace. And when I say we teach peace, it's a truth that we can actually teach it. As my brother here, the speaker of the Hebrew congregation said, we are followers of religions are there to learn and to teach at the same time, to teach people about peace. The faith teaches us that we should look at each other as brothers and sisters and an extended family funnel. We are one big family, and he actually gave me a strong message today as well to confirm what I learned from the Holy Quran about what is in the Bible and what is in the Torah. Ladies and gentlemen, after 15th of March, I decided to go to Germany and visit the biggest synagogue in Berlin. And I addressed the congregation there, saying that the Quran taught us that the people of Moses, the followers of Moses, lots of them or majority of them, they are the people who stand for justice. وَمِن قَوْمِ مُوسَى أُمَّةٌ يَهْدُونَ بِالْحَقِّ وَبِهِ يَعْدِلُونَ. This is what the Quran says about our brothers and sisters from the Jewish faith. So the Holocaust that we are remembering today is also a link. We can link it to what happened to us on 15th of March. The hate is rising today. And in the past few weeks, we have noticed that not only on the individual level, but on the political level, we watched that happening in the USA. That we need to stand together against hate. And we need to address this issue right from the young age of the children in the child care. I remember I worked as a reliever in child care in Palmerston North in Manawatu. And this group of people, they came to teach about sexuality education. If we manage to make a program for sexuality education in the child care, so that the children are aware of any unwanted touch by a person who is, I think, a bad person, then we should be able also to introduce a program to teach our children right from the beginning that hate is not okay. We need to stand against it. We need to speak up against any joke about any race or faith. And we have to stand together to promote peace and love. And the Royal Commission report that came a few weeks ago also confirmed that in New Zealand there is still issues of unconscious bias, at least. So we have to address this and to be aware of this, so that we can, as the Prophet Muhammad said, we are all in one ship. So the example of the people who are on one ship, so some people on the top, some people down there. When the people on the top, they wanted to drink, they found it difficult to go down, every time to get water. So they asked the people down there if they can make a hole so that they can get water. Imagine if these people let them do it. The water will get into the ship and the whole ship will drown. So we all a big family, and we are on one ship, and we need to land successfully to the nearest island. I am going to make a little prayer. And, oh God, from good qualities we desire their completion. From your rewards we desire the reward which is the most common. From your blessings we desire the blessing which is the sweetest. And from your favor we desire the favor which is the most plentiful. And from deeds we desire the deed which is the best. And from knowledge we desire the knowledge which is the most beneficial. From sustenance we desire the sustenance which is the most plentiful. And of protection we desire its duration. And of health we desire its attainment. Of livelihood we ask its increase and its comfort. And of life we desire its real success and its happiness, and fulfill for us our hopes beyond expectations. Enjoin us with well-being and good health, and favor us with the removal of our faults. Unite us to work together for the best of our nation, and protect our nation and the world from coronavirus and all sorts of diseases. Oh God, accept us and unite our hearts to work towards harmony peace and love, to work with each other and to love each other and to be united all the time. Thank you very much.
Over time, reciting Kaddish replaced studying as the tribute given to a scholar. Eventually the custom extended to all mourners, not only the survivors of rabbis and leaders. By the 6th century of the current era, Kaddish was part of synagogue prayers, and during the 13th century, when the Crusades threatened the Jewish communities of Europe, it became inextricably linked to loss and mourning. I will now read the Kaddish as I know it. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba ve'alma divra cherutei v'yamlich malchutei b'cheichon v'yomeichon v'cheidechol Beit Yisrael bagalav izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarech le'olam u'almaya almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitrumam v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yitalal v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei l'kudusha berich hu Le'ala min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechmata tamiran b'yolma v'yimru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Ose shalom b'mromav hu ya'ase shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Shalom, salam, kakite anu.
you.